Hey guys, this is Rob, Sigma 3 Survival School, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a variation of the basket traps that we've shown in some of the other videos. And we keep coming up with better and better designs, as we get more and more experience using these things. And this is about the best design that I've come up with to date or have seen. And one of the problems with a lot of these primitive traps is they're difficult to construct. They take days, a lot of skill. They don't have removable trap doors that are easy to get the fish, things like that. So what we did was we came up with designs that you could build anywhere as long as you had vines or something like that. And this thing works super simple. All you've got to do is find the sticks that hold it in. And this thing literally slides out, and then you can just dump your fish out. Now this thing can also, if you attach a frame and straps to it, you can turn it into a backpack. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do with a style of trap like this. You can throw all your little fishing equipment in it, throw it over your shoulder with a strap, and carry it down to the lake. And this is really one of those traps that you've got to pay attention to, guys. This is, our instructor Josh Hamlin lived off of the land for almost 2 years, almost exclusively off of fish traps, just because they produce so much. And he did that with no modern tools, no knife, no nothing. So these traps like this can be completely built, completely abo in a fairly short amount of time. I can build one of these, maybe not quite this elaborate, maybe a little bit smaller, all by myself in 5 to 6 hours. So that's a good time investment for how much fish they produce. So hang tight, and I'm going to show you how to build this thing from top to bottom. Alright, so the first step before I split this into pieces as a form for my basket, I am going to just make a little lashing so that it won't split past this point, because we don't want to split the bamboo too far. So just make whatever kind of knot and then wrap it around and then tie off the leads. Nothing fancy. Alright, so after you get it all tied up, then you're gonna split this all the way down to where it splits to the actual rope. And pay attention if it splits off from to one side to the other, just angle your blade back in the direction you want it to split towards. And I'm going to split this a few more times, and the trick with this, it doesn't necessarily matter how many times you split it. You just have to have an odd amount of spokes, and you want to have enough spokes to support it. So I typically go for 5 to 7. Alright guys, after you get this split up, I split it 4 times, so I've got 8 individual pieces. Find the scrawniest piece, the one that maybe didn't split all that evenly, and go ahead and remove that. You need an odd amount of spokes in order to have a complete, or to have a good pattern that will hold together. So just take and bend this off and cut it off with a knife. And then the next step. So I can't say enough, how important survival fishing skills are. Fish are one of the easiest things to get, and these types of traps have been used for thousands of years. This personal trap, this is kind of a design that I came up with. Now, there's nothing new under the sun, guys. There's a million old sage bushmen who've probably done something very similar, if not this exact thing, but this isn't something that you're going to find in a book. Our instructor Josh lived off of the land for 2 years with pretty much just these fish traps and a few other things, and they provided all of his needs. So this is really one of those traps that you want to go out and try, you want to experiment and use in your area, because it has so many variations, so many things that you can do on it. You can make smaller versions and turn them into crawdad traps. You can make minnow traps. You can set these for larger traps. You can dam off streams, you know, like small streams, make funnels and set these right in the middle so that you know, fish that are unlucky and get swept up in the current get blown right into the basket. I mean, seriously guys, just a million options for this thing. So pay attention on this video, and you know, if you have any commentary or questions, make sure you post that over in the forum. So the next step in the process is to just kind of make yourself a preliminary form here. This isn't going to be permanent. All you need to do is just wrap a branch or a vine or whatever you're using. You can use willow for these things. You can use, you can even use bamboo strips. You can use vines, which is what we're going to do today. But just make a hoop so that you can flare this out. And the whole reasoning for this is so that when we start at the base and we start running our smaller vines, that it won't just be crazy difficult to try to weave them in until you initially get your form. And then once we come up about 6 inches, maybe a foot, and we've already got kind of that, you know, flare lined out all the way down, then it'll just keep its form and we can remove this. Alright, so getting it started is the difficult part. Once you get it going though, it's super simple and it goes really quickly. But this bottom portion down here, you have to have either some very flexible vine, grasses, or you can use rope or something like that. And you just interweave over, under, and make sure that you don't mess up the pattern. Otherwise you'll have to go back and correct it. But over, under, all the way around until you get the vines should be connected. There shouldn't be any gaps. You don't want fish to be able to swim in and out. And once it gets up to about right in maybe this area, it'll have its own flare and it'll be going really quick. And you have to do an over-under pattern like this, because if you don't, the thing won't hold together. That's why you need an odd amount of spokes. And if you don't use spokes or bamboo like this, then you can use just tie an odd amount of sticks together. Okay, so you just keep doing the same pattern over and over, over, under, over, under, over, under. You know, you have to have an odd amount of spokes so that the pattern alternates. You know, so that if you did it with an even amount of spokes, then you would have the same one going over the same one over and over again, and it wouldn't form a basket. If you have trouble towards the end, the bigger vines have a tendency to want to kind of spring up. So occasionally it might come in handy to tie these down just to cinch them together until you get up here to the top. If you get any broken pieces, we haven't broken any on this yet, but all you got to do is take another stick and you know, jam it back in the same spot and keep continuing on. And you can literally make these things as big as you want. I could add on to the top of this with some new sticks and keep making it bigger and bigger. Let's say I wanted to put it in the ocean or whatever. Just we're about to finish this up, and then once we get up here to the top, then we're going to make the inner ring and then the front. Alright, so let's say you don't have any cordage for whatever reason, or you don't want to take the time to make it. There are ways to finish off this basket, and this is pretty much to the top, or about as far as we want to take it. You just take some sticks, something flexible like you've been using this whole time, and you find the areas where it is springing up and jam a stick down in there and weave it through and then use this to flip back over and jam in on the other side. And you can take these little sticks and weave them all the way across to where it's just like little loops evenly all the way across, and it'll hold and cinch all this down so that you don't have to worry about tying it, and you can take your precious core and use it for something else. All right, so after you get the frame completed and all the vines wrapped all the way up, now we're going to do something a little bit different. And this is something I've come up with to basically add more volume to the interior of the actual trap. One of the problems with a lot of the primitive traps you see out there is that even though it'll have a wide opening, you'll have a wide long funnel, and there won't be a whole lot of space up in this area around the actual funnel for the fish to get into. So what we're essentially doing is we are going to squeeze this doorway down by wrapping or making loops of the vine to where we close it down to a much smaller hole, and then we set our funnel in, and that'll create more volume, so we've got a higher likelihood of catching fish. And all you do is just wrap this up kind of like a Christmas wreath, and you know, you want to fit it to size. Make your initial loop quite a bit smaller than the opening, and it'll widen to the outside and to the inside as you wind it around. So once you get this, you know, wrapped up, then you're just going to take it and slide it in. And you want it to be a tight fit. You want to have to jam it in, because we're going to physically tie this down, and then this is going to become a permanent part of the trap. And you want all these little gaps filled, so twist it around until it fits in there like you like. And then we're going to take a little bit of cordage and tie it off. Hey guys, so the next step in building your funnel is that you've got to just take a grapevine or any kind of vine and tie it together and make a loop here. And then you're going to tie 5 attachments, or depending on how big your trap is, you may want a little bit more. But all you do is tie on 5 sticks here, and then you're going to start the exact same process over. I like to add a form to the top of it, at least to get it going. We'll probably pull this off in a second. But you just start over, under, and start building this all the way to the top. And then once you get to the top, it's just going to set right in like a cork, and it'll be ready to go. So if you've got an interest in learning how to do these types of skills, this is our advanced standard class, and in every advanced standard we teach how to make advanced primitive basket traps for catching fish. You know, like I say, this is really not a short-term survival skill. This is more of a long-term survival skill, and that's kind of what the advanced standard is about. It's about increasing your bushcraft comfort over the long term, how to provide you know, plenty of food using primitive traps with limited amounts of gear. And you know, if you're going to be out here longer than a week, then you really do need to have some long-term bushcraft skills, because you know, survival's kind of a game of psychology. You know, if you're sleeping good, if you're eating good, if you feel good from day to day, you're not going to be struggling, you're not going to be burning as much calories, and instead of surviving, we teach our students to thrive instead. So once you get this completed, and it's just as simple as this, and it helps, you don't have to do this, but I think it lasts a lot longer than doing the primitive methods where you jam stuff in and then fold it back over in order to cinch this down. Just take a little bit of bank line and attach it so that it cinches this, so that the vines don't come out the end. But once you get it properly fitted, you know, you need to make sure it's the exact same size as the hole, and you're going to jam it in there. And in order to keep it from moving around, we're going to take grapevines and just jam these in at angles here, and run it back through the funnel, and then back over, you know, like over here. And that's just going to essentially cinch this down for us, and then all we've got to do, and I'll put 1 or 2 or more of these in, you put it in, you know, you go ahead and set your trap, and then when you catch the fish, you just pull those few sticks and then your funnel will come right out and you can just dump them out of the trap. Because, you know, one of the problems I find with almost all the primitive traps I've seen out there is that they either have some kind of really complicated door, trap door to access the fish, or you literally have to like reach your hand through there and try to get the fish to come back out. So I kind of tried to come up with a easy design that you can just, you know, almost pull it out just like a cork and get your fish, and this is what we came up with, and we've had a fair amount of, well, a lot of success with this type of setup over the other types of setups that we've shown you previously. Alright guys, so here's the finished product. You can scale these up or down however big or small you want to make them. You can use them as minnow traps or crawdad traps for the really small versions, and then you can catch stuff as large as catfish. So just whatever your area is, just kind of, you know, contour it to your needs. And the next video we're going to show you how to set these up. I know that a lot of guys have been wanting to you know, see how these are set up, and honestly I could make, you know, 20 different videos on how many different ways you can set these up and what types of riparian areas. So it really kind of is contingent upon your area, but we'll show you the method that we use around here that produces pretty well for us. And then only other thing that we need for this trap is we're going to have to put a rock in it, and we need a little bit of bait, so stay tuned and make sure that you check out the next part of this video. And if you've got any commentary, please post that in our survival forum. The link's down below. We typically, you know, are going to spend a lot more time answering questions for people who visit the website than you know, just making commentary down there below on YouTube. You know, as always, please share, like, and subscribe these videos. And if you have an interest in learning these skills, this is one of the skills that we teach in our advanced standard class. And, you know, it's definitely one of the best skill sets that you can learn to put food on the table. So come out and join us here at Sigma 3. Thanks.